Welcome to NASPA Tonight. I'm your host, Josh Greenway. We've got a very interesting show for you tonight. We're going to be talking about the North American Scrabble Championship versus the American Crossword Puzzle Tournament, and we're going to have some fun. So thanks, everybody, for joining. The first thing that I want to talk about tonight is who our special guest is. Who'll be coming up in just a couple of minutes. We have Jason Keller, who's here to tell us about the ACPT. He's been to 14 of them, I believe. So that's kind of exciting. And it's going to be an interesting comparison. Now, we also had this past week, it was April Fool's Day. So we had Seth Lipkin redact cross tables. So that was a lot of fun. I believe he's done this on cross tables for many years. I started to go back to try to find Facebook posts about this, but I couldn't find the past ones. I should have reached out to the man himself. But that was a lot of fun. We had some tournaments in the last week. And so I wanted to quickly talk about those. So we had out in Calgary, we had some TWL winners. We had Peter Sargius, I think that's probably a mispronunciation. We had Bill Payne and we had Daisy Bailey all taking their divisions, with Peter achieving a new peak. Peter and I serve on the advisory board together, so shout out to Peter there. We also had a tournament in Pittsburgh. We had Winter going undefeated. That was a one-day on Winter's quest to get back to 2000, moved up 14 rating points to 1979. We also had division winners with Barbara Epstein and Deborah Gorilla. I don't know if that's how you pronounce it. I'm sorry, Deborah. Okay, then we also had Princeton, New Jersey. So this was a tournament where Will Anderson dominated. We'll ask Jason about that because I know he was in that field. And Judy Cole won a relatively small TWL field, but nice job there picking up the win. We also had a one-day Collins event. This happened in Gaithersburg, Maryland, and none other the one and only Marlon Hill comes out with the win there. I don't know what the rating implication was when I made up these sheets. The results were not in there yet. So that's sort of what's happened this past week. Now, what we're going to want to do is, as Jackson says, make Winter 2000 again. So absolutely. I think we're all waiting for that to happen. Okay, I am now going to bring my very special guest on the show, and that is none other. Let's get a. There we go. That's what I want. All right, none other than Jason Keller. Jason, how are you?
Hey, I'm all right. Put me in the not make Winter 2000 again.
Come on, category. Come on. It's much more fun when Winter's posting about getting to 2000 and the, going back and forth. Like
that's if you read his posts.
Oh, come on, Jason. There's Scrabble's supposed to be all about love, man. All right. So tonight we're talking about the North American Scrabble Championship and the American Crossword Puzzle Tournament. I can think of no better guest to talk about those things than you. You've attended a lot of both of these events. Am I right that you've been to 14 American Crossword Puzzle Tournaments?
Yes.
That's awesome. Yes. And what made you go in the first place?
So it's actually a delayed start. So I, when I was in college, my parents, as a gift, got us all tickets to a talk being given by Will Shortz in New York City. And so we went, and he did what he often does. He talked a little bit about some of his favorite crossword puzzles at the time. For example, there's the famous one where there was a headline and you could make it Bob Dole elected or Clinton elected.
I read about that.
Depending on your, depending on your political persuasion.
Yes.
But so he also played a bunch of games with the audience. And there was one game in particular where I beat the rest of the room, pretty much.
Oh.
And so, the talk went on. And what was very nice was that he spoke with the attendees. He had a little meet and greet. And so he just mentioned to me that he thought that I would really like this. It took me about 5 years to actually get to my first ACPT.
Yeah.
But when I did, it was just like the rest was history, pretty much.
Beautiful. Well, I think this is a great place to start talking about the ACPT, because you can't talk about the ACPT without mentioning Will Short. So let's talk about Will here for a second. So here's some stats on Will. There's a lot of text here, but we'll go through it pretty quickly. So Will has always been interested in puzzles. He has a background. He's got a degree in puzzles. Yep. He worked for Games Magazine as their editor, and then became the New York Times crossword puzzle editor in 1993, a position that he holds until today. And he founded the American Crossword Puzzle Tournament in 1978. And as you've told me, he continues to be sort of the host.
Yes,
and
he is. Yes.
Is that right? Host and founder, I think.
Yeah, and MC as well.
Beautiful. So a real kind of personal touch on that tournament, obviously. Author or editor of 100 plus books, owns a huge, the largest puzzle book private collection in the United States, something like that. And has, is famous, has appeared on all these different shows like Oprah and The Simpsons and Jeopardy and all these things. The 2006 documentary Wordplay focuses on shorts and the ACPT, and is also a huge ping pong fan.
Yes,
which I found interesting.
In fact, a couple of fun facts about that, and Scrabble-related fun facts about that, the ping pong part. So, as I understand, he has faced off against one Mark Berg a number of times.
Oh, really? That's amazing.
Yes, and then also he owns the Westchester Table Tennis Club. And once I was on Facebook and looking through my feed, and there was a picture of Bradley Robbins with Will Short.
Oh, fantastic! Well, so I think
Bradley's very much into the table tennis. So
I think we're going to explore some of the crossover, not just yours, but between these two events. As we know, I think. Like the crossover that you represent as well between Scrabble and Jeopardy, between Scrabble and trivia, we see kind of all these different worlds colliding like a big Venn diagram. Okay, so I also wanted to show people kind of what this tournament looks like. So here are a couple of pictures here. Players seem like they're in fairly close quarters. What's your experience like? It looks like you're kind of elbow to elbow.
Especially this year, in past years where there have been a few fewer competitors, there's been a little bit more space in the ballroom. And also for a little while, we've been in Stamford, Connecticut for almost the duration, but there was a time where, due to the size of the tournament, we were actually in Brooklyn. And so we were at the Marriott at the Brooklyn Bridge. There was a little bit more space in the ballroom. It is pretty close quarters, but you're solving a crossword puzzle. It's not like you need that much space but so you see there's a lot of solving going on. It's pretty quiet. You can hear a pin drop. I was actually told by one of the judges, because I had solved the Friday puzzle, and when I filled in the last clue and saw what the clue was and thought I could have made a totally different clue for this, I yelled, "Oh, come on." And one of the judges encouraged me to yell that in the middle of the super difficult puzzle, but it's pretty quiet. But the interesting thing is that, we're not there. I mean, this is early on. We're not there, although you might be able to see a couple of people who might be leaving the room at this point. But so the thing is, you have a time limit, And when you're done with the puzzle, you can get up and leave the room. And so one thing that makes it a lot different from Scrabble tournaments is that you may spend a few minutes in the room and then spend the rest of the duration of the puzzle out in the hallway schmoozing with other people.
Oh, nice. Okay. Well, I guess there's some of that in Scrabble. It's just
it's not going to be, I mean,
Right.
in Scrabble, you're playing, you have your 50 minutes, but you're going to be playing for a good chunk of that.
Right.
Whereas, for example, there's a puzzle that's 20 minutes where the fastest solvers will be done in 3 or 4, and some people will be done in 5 or 6. And so, there's 15 minutes plus there are 10 minutes between each puzzle. So there's like a good chunk.
Well, I can't imagine what it would be like. I'm sure I would be scribbling away till the 19th or 20th minute, and the room would be almost empty. That sounds like a nightmare to me. Now, I see in this picture, some people have the yellow blockers or shields up, and some people don't. Is that a optional thing?
It's just not a huge you're there cheating at the crossword tournament is pretty much non-existent. Why would you look over at someone else's paper? And honestly, if you want to look over at the top solvers' papers, most of them are scribbling so quickly that their handwriting is barely legible. So you're not even going to get that much help from that. And then, of course, you don't know if the person who you'd be looking at has made a mistake. I mean, I guess everyone's kind of on their honor system. And the dividers are up. Also, the dividers sometimes are kind of flimsy, or they're not great for doing their job.
Okay, gotcha. I was going to say as well, if you want to look at the top competitors' puzzles, they may be gone, right?
Yeah, that's the other thing. Or also, I know that a lot of top competitors like to kind of sit next to someone else who's a top competitor because they want to. Or close by. There are a lot of people who actually will kind of say, hey, you know what? I want a pace setter. Or they might sit with their friends. So yeah. So
gotcha.
It's not like,
go ahead, finish.
It's not like there have been some people who have unwittingly sat down next to top solvers and been unnerved. But
there you go. So speaking of top solvers, I guess this is what the final round looks like here, right? Mm-hmm. So you can see lots of spectators, everybody's sticking around. This is one thing that we're actually hoping to generate at this year's NASC because we'll have some playoff games. Yep. But tell me about the experience here.
Well, and I can speak to this experience. So the top 3 divisions, if you are in the top 3, so one thing that's interesting is that if you are the top solver in C, but you qualify for a higher final, you do so. But so the top 3 in each division get to solve a final puzzle. As you see, there are whiteboards. The competitors have headphones and noise canceling headphones.
Yes.
So, they have white noise piped in. And basically, it is a race where the person who finished furthest ahead, depending on what the scoring dictates, gets a lead. So they have that for the C division, the B division, and the A division. And the interesting thing is that the divisions, the grid for the final is the same. The answers are the same. The C division gets easy clues. The B division gets pretty hard clues, and the A division gets diabolical clues.
So are B and C off in another room, and then they get
no. So what happens is C goes first. This is A. C goes first. B goes second. You finish with A. So interestingly, because my one experience with this was in 2012, I was 3rd place in C. Oh, cool. So I was up on the C. So I was in the C final. So also what was cool was they go through all of the rest of the prizes, and then they announce the finalists. And so they go in reverse order. So I'm called up there as the first finalist, and then I get to, kind of high five everyone else as they're coming up. There's a lot of cool energy with that.
So, and I guess what you're saying is you didn't know until they called your name. Is that right?
Yeah, you know what? The thing was that we had to wait on results for the last puzzle because the last puzzle happens that day, and they don't score it, and they don't they don't have it scored and total up until it's announced. A lot of times, people talk, but C division. There are also C divisions where all the rookies are, so you don't necessarily know everyone else who's around.
Okay.
So A division, they usually know kind of who's going to be in the final. B division, they kind of know who's going to be in the final sometimes. C division, no.
All right. Very good. Well, okay. So let's, I think this is interesting talking about the formats and all that kind of stuff. First of all, by the way, Mad Palazzo says hi, and why aren't you wearing orange? I don't know if you want to.
Because I've got because I'm pretty in my mauve crossword shirt. Mad. And unfortunately, this crossword shirt, it comes in the traditional grid. It comes in mauve. It does not come in orange, at least not yet.
Beautiful. So, okay, here's what we're going to go into next. We're going to do a comparison between the last NASC in 2018 and the just recently completed. This was a week and a half ago. You were in Connecticut, is that right?
Yes.
That's where you were? Okay. And so here are some numbers for us to go through. So 2018 NASC, we had just over 400 entrants, and the ACPT, you had 741 competitors this year. So, sizable difference there. In terms of divisions, it seems like, I think I have these numbers right, 4 for Scrabble, 6 for ACPT.
So there are actually 5 for ACPT.
Okay.
A through E. There are also those.
But aren't there like rookie divisions or something, or are those just place?
So there is a rookie division. Yeah, I guess technically, but yeah, there is. I guess if you want to say that there is a rookie division, it's and yeah, there are prizes for rookies, but yeah, I don't know if a lot of people, everyone just kind of says, are you in A, B, C, D, or E? There are also, though, lots of prizes for, there are also prizes by age group and geography as well.
Yes, right. I saw that, some regional finishers. Okay, so let's keep going, kind of tail of the tape here. We've got the NASC, 31 games over 5 days. The ACPT, now you mentioned to me 7+1 rounds, and I see that it's a 3-day event.
Yeah.
So what I'm confused about is it seems like you're talking about 20-minute puzzles.
Yeah.
Why are there so few rounds, or are there multiple puzzles per round?
There are a few things. So first of all, Friday there are actually no tournament puzzles. Friday is get in. There is usually a Friday night set of activities. Sometimes they're worth attending, sometimes not. My first year at the ACPT, Ken Jennings was giving a talk. There was also one memorable ACPT a couple of years ago. There was a puzzle extravaganza that was kind of, we made the ballroom an escape room, and you had to solve a bunch of puzzles.
Okay.
So things like that. But so there are no official tournament activities on Friday, and that's actually something that you can pay extra to enter or not. There is also a wine and cheese reception afterwards.
Nice.
That with that extra you get. But so really it's 2 days. So a few things that apply here. I think one thing is that it's not like Scrabble where you can just bring a bunch of boards and have a tournament.
Okay.
There has to be someone so there are people who are asked to create the puzzles.
Yes, of course.
And so the thing is, it's a bit of an undertaking, right? So part of it is that Will has to look at these separately and vet these and have these tests solved, and the more puzzles, that would become a little bit of an undertaking. The other thing is that there are a lot of people who don't finish, and I wouldn't say there are a lot of people who don't finish any puzzles, but there are a lot of people who will stay the duration of each puzzle. So, and it is at a leisurely pace. There is a lot of arranging that has to go on. And also, I think just there's a little bit of a different energy. It's kind of like a family reunion. There aren't a lot of other crossword puzzle tournaments out there, so there's, I think, a little bit more of an emphasis on some quality time. Also, on Saturday evening, they have some additional games and puzzles. In recent past, they've been giving out an award to Merle Regal, who was very well known in the crossword world, passed away a couple of years ago, and so there's been a memorial award given to someone who's made some contributions to the puzzle community. There's something of that. There's usually some other activity on Saturday night, but also we want to. I think that they just want everyone to have a lot of time to, just hang out.
Okay, so that's interesting, and I want to compare those things. I want to get through some of the hard numbers here. So, entry fee pretty similar. You said you paid. You thought you paid $185 for this year's event, versus $200 for the NASC, and we see a fairly significant difference in terms of prize money. The NASC tending to give out more prizes, double the top prize, and really 5 times the total prize pool. Obviously, last year's champion in Scrabble was Joel Sherman. It was his second title. And in the ACPT, it was Dan Thayer with his 8th title. But there are other competitors who have like 7 and 6 and 5. So I thought that was interesting. I want to talk about that. But first, listed staff on the website. So, and we'll get into some clarity here. Like, we list 26 for the NASC. That's what I could find the listed amount for last year's event. For the ACPT, I could only find 8 listed. But let's come back so that we're on screen, and then we can talk about staffing, and then we can talk about sort of number of wins. So, you said there were a lot more people than what was listed, right?
Yeah, the 8 people that might be kind of official capacities, but you have this huge room, you have to wrangle puzzles, you have to check puzzles. There is a sizable horde of volunteers that distribute the puzzles, that come around and collect the puzzles, that mark down how much time you have left for your bonus. They also mark the puzzles and scan the puzzles and make sure everything is copacetic. So it's not that you can just have 8 people and do, and wrangle 700, and keep track of 750 people.
Yeah, well, and you figured the total number might be closer to 100 or somewhere around there with all the volunteers. Yeah, and I would suspect the NASC is actually closer to 50 when you consider the people who help out with registration and with breakdown and the various volunteers or the early bird, all that kind of stuff.
Also, additionally, although this is not really staff, additionally, one thing that's nice is that there are vendors who sell puzzle books and things on Saturday. It's all day. You can go and you can purchase. If you need another book of Sunday crosswords or something, there's something there for you. Or sometimes there's T-shirts or postcards or other fun little memorabilia that are out there.
Right. Nice. So I like that. And obviously I think there have been times where the NASC had sort of outside vendors and then times that they haven't and stuff like that. But so first of all, let's talk about the previous champions. So I would imagine, as a layperson, thinking that there's less randomness in a crossword puzzle, that's what lends itself to all of these sort of multiple time champions. Does that sound about right to you?
That is one thing right now, is that Dan, I would say, is kind of Dave Weegandish as far as crosswords are concerned. But yeah, it is, a lot of it does come down, and some of it is just the luck of sometimes it can come down to, does somebody make a mistake?
Right, because it's about time finished and number of mistakes, right? That's how you score in crossword.
Yeah. And the thing is, making a mistake can be really significant, especially if you're really at the top of your game and your speed, and you're going quickly. A mistake is the equivalent of about 8 minutes of time. And so that can be huge in terms of the final standings.
Okay, interesting. And I don't know what the chances. Listen, I am not a crossword aficionado.
Mm-hmm.
How many crosswords would you complete in an average week?
Honestly, for this tournament, I mean, I've done more in the past, but I honestly, for this tournament, did the New York Times crossword every day, and that was about it.
And you say for this tournament, would you say that's part of your normal routine?
Oh yeah, it is. But there have been times where in the past, I know that when I had started out, I was like, well, I want to get faster and I want to do more puzzles. And there have been times where I've gotten to do more puzzles. I think that there's an interesting thing where the people who solve really quickly, if they're speed solving, they can get a lot of puzzles done in a short amount of time.
Gotcha.
And so the interesting thing, I think when Scrabblers talk about how, rather mistakenly about how expert players spend way too much time studying words, they also perhaps don't realize that maybe it's not taking us as long to study the words because maybe we know them pretty well. Or just maybe we're operating at a little bit of a higher frequency. I think that's something. But I would say, in the past I have done more puzzles, and actually this year, it's interesting. I was having a discussion with Terry Kangrau and Will Anderson this weekend, and Terry was mentioning some things about studying, and I mentioned that a few of us, and this is very rare, but because someone at the crossword tournament had rubbed us the wrong way, we have squad goals for 2020.
Oh, nice. Squad goals. I like it.
So we are, and I said, I'm sure that you can think of a Scrabbler who, you'd like to annihilate, and maybe that might motivate you to study a little bit. In crosswords, it's usually not out of a place of malice, but there are little fun rivalries that sometimes develop.
All right. I just wanted to get you quoted on this. Maybe some of us operate at a higher frequency. So I enjoy that. I enjoy that quote. Okay. So what I also find interesting is this notion that there's more time made for interactions, right? Obviously with nationals, there are people who would like to see more rounds in a day. We keep it at 7, give everybody a couple hours for lunch. But it sounds like it's even more like an even more relaxed schedule at the ACPT.
Yeah. Also, though, like for what it's worth, a couple of these puzzles, especially puzzle number 5, is a puzzle where it is usually ridiculous. This year it was actually a little bit easier, that I think, than it has been. But so a lot of times after puzzle 5, your brain is probably in a place where you need a break. So you get puzzle 6, which is usually what they call a palate cleanser, and then you don't have to think about doing puzzles for the rest of the afternoon. You can go relax, have dinner, come back for evening activities, or not come back for evening activities.
Right. Gotcha. Okay. So, what am I doing here? Sorry, I wanted to put up another quote, but I don't know why that's not up there. Here's, oh no, I see what I did. There you go. After puzzle 5, your brain is fried. Okay. Tell me about some of the other Scrabblers who were there. You were talking about Terry. Terry been to?
No, Terry was not at the ACPT. Terry.
For some reason, I thought
last weekend.
Oh, I see. I understand. Okay.
Yes.
But I think Judy Cole was there. Is
Judy
that right?
Cole was there. Yes. So actually, the top finishing Scrabbler in 10th place overall at the ACPT was Brian McCarthy from Albany area.
Okay.
He's been doing crosswords a little bit longer than Scrabble. He was in the B finals a couple of years ago. And so he was there. Other people who were there. So John Stardom and Paul Huntsberger came down from Ottawa.
Right.
And Andrea Carla Michaels, who from the Bay Area, who you may also, if you have solved an early in the week times puzzle, her name may sound familiar. And then also Jack Lechner, who's a friend of hers and competes in some Manhattan tournaments as well. But also, there are quite a few people who have not been active recently, who have played in a Scrabble tournament or two. And in fact, a couple of the ACPT champions are formerly active. You have Dan Pratt, you have Trip Payne, and you have, may he rest in peace, Doug Hoyleman. Actually, in my count, I realized I forgot Andrea and active players, but I counted about 8 other people who have competed in Scrabble tournaments that I know of.
Nice. Well, and what do you think the Jeopardy count is? Is that like 15 or 20 or more than that?
No, it's probably, I'd say it might even go into the triple digits.
No, really?
Yeah.
Wow, that's amazing. Okay. Well,
I'd say it's significant.
This is right. So it might be in the 60s or 70s or 80s or something like that. That's pretty incredible. I did not know that number, but I do really like this nexus of crossword and Scrabble and trivia and Jeopardy and all that kind of stuff. So that's really cool. Okay, your highest finish you mentioned was in 2012. I think you said third place in C.
So. Yes, but overall I was 65th place.
Okay, gotcha.
So that's one thing that's also very different is everyone is solving the same puzzles.
Kind of
and
crossover.
You are, if you are in the E division and you
are perfect.
And you, well, not only that, if you suddenly develop a superhuman ability to finish crossword puzzles and you are first place after everything is done, you are in the A finals.
Okay,
so you
gotcha.
You can qualify for, if you are vying for prizes in your division. I would say the closest equivalent is an open with class prizes, basically.
Okay, right.
Where if
gotcha.
if you are in a class where you qualify for a higher class, you get that higher class.
Right. Okay. Nice. By the way, Sean Abbasi had something very nice to say about you. He said that...
Wait, he had something nice to say?
Oh, listen to this. He said,
on the Facebook comments?
He said, that's right. He said, speaking of champions...
It's cold under my feet.
Hold on. Let me read the quote. He said, speaking of champions, Keller should be on a box of Wheaties. Now, he may have just been setting that up for the second half, where he said Josh, on the other hand, was the fourth dwarf who was cut from Rice Krispies. So it may not have been as much about you as about me, but thank you, Sean, for watching and commenting.
Sean, the second half of that seems more like you. For a second, it's now no longer cold under my feet.
Okay, you've shown off the Scrabble shirt. A couple of people have commented, no orange, right? We've covered that. What is the crossword fashion scene like? How many people what are we talking about here?
There are a lot of people who do come in, do have crossword garb. Yeah. There is one contestant or one solver. He hasn't actually been at the last few of them, so I wonder. But Jim Janista from Colorado Springs, who would have these very outrageous outfits. Like one year he came as the crossword bride of, I don't know if it was really just the crossword bride or the crossword bride of Frankenstein, but he had he actually had like a wedding dress that had a crossword grid theme that he was wearing. But I was gonna say I don't think I have. I would love to share a picture from my phone, but I don't think that I can grab that. But
I don't think so.
Some people do. Some people do the crossword grid sort of theme. But it's otherwise it's a lot of puzzle fans who dress normally.
So one thing is, because there aren't a lot of other crossword events. I mean, I was just thinking about just the way you're rattling off names and talking about where people are from. One of the things that I like most about the NASC is I consider it like a family reunion, right? You get to see all these people and stuff like that. But you've also, a lot of those people you've competed against, at other events and spent time and stuff like that. So what's your community like within Crossword compared to Scrabble?
So I'd say there's a little more figurative distance, if you will. But I do try to especially like at Can-Am, for example, after Can-Am was over, I actually went and met this year's runner-up, June Pak, and we had dinner because he lives in the Cambridge area. But so personally, I'm just trying to make an effort to be a little bit more connected to everybody generally.
Nice.
So, but one thing, it really is just like we get together. That is one thing. There are not a lot of tournaments out there. I think it makes it a lot more special.
Right. Okay. So that's interesting.
Sure. There are kind of 3 tournaments that I go to. And I think that, and the other interesting thing is that I don't think that there are cash prizes at the other 2 tournaments, even though they're well attended. A lot of it goes to expenses. A lot of it goes to also making sure that people who create the crosswords and do all the legwork are taken care of. And to some extent, I think it's something. I mean, it's not as much about the money, but if it is about the money, most people are like, yeah, you know what, the top solvers are the top solvers.
Well, I think that's one of the things that's interesting about Scrabble. Like, I don't know if the right analogy is chicken and egg, but the minute you start putting prize money in, then prize money becomes important and it becomes a cycle. If we take a look at different kinds of games like bridge, for example, right? Pretty much across the board, there's no prize money, but there are a lot of people still drawn to it for the same reasons that most of us are drawn to Scrabble, for the challenge, for the experience. So I wonder whether a Scrabble future, I don't know whether a Scrabble future is necessitated by more prize money, or maybe there's a future that looks at less. I don't know.
I think that one thing that we don't think about is that I think a lot of us have different ideas. And I feel like there are a lot of times, and I know that part of it's the nature of the game, because it is that you're head to head across the board against somebody. But so I kind of always envision an umbrella. I would like to see, there should be some tournaments where, it's not so much about the money, but then there should be tournaments where it is about the money. And that's where I fall. That's where I fall. And I think that, that those of us who excel at it at a level should be proud of that and should, and it's value. It's something that's valuable and it should be reflected.
Nice.
So but I also understand. I mean, a lot of it is, but I'll say that's also something. I mean, with the exception of Squad Goals Guy, it's really like when people, when people make mistakes or fall back in the standings or something like that. There's a lot of support. It's most of the time, when someone makes a mistake, it's like, I'm sorry that you made that mistake because that sucks. We want everyone to have clean solves and doing their best. Where in Scrabble,
well, and you can see the result is a little more binary. It makes me think of when I go to the casino, I play blackjack and I don't play poker. And the difference is, in blackjack, it's a bunch of you against the dealer. There's a feeling of community in that game. that when you're playing poker, it just doesn't. It's not the same thing.
At the blackjack table until someone hits when they're not supposed to.
That's true. Then they'll eat you alive.
When you make the move that's not on the book.
That's right. You got to find the right table, I guess.
Right.
Okay, so listen, I think this has been a really illustrative look.
Mm-hmm.
I had one more question. So, of the 14 ACPTs that you've attended, is it 14 in a row?
Yes.
Oh, fantastic! And you don't see breaking that streak anytime soon?
Not unless there is some physical reason that I can't be there. Or,
so you're
if for some reason there is something more lucrative going on at the time, that's
okay. And ultimately, I would imagine the same is true for NASC. Yeah, maybe not. Are you going to be in Reno?
I should be in Reno. There is actually, that'll be interesting. My sister-in-law is expecting her first child right around Reno, but it may be super convenient because then they're in Dublin, California. It might just be getting a drive. Paula Catanese, are you watching this? Can we road trip home again?
Fantastic. That's one of the interesting things about Reno. The last time we played in Reno, I got to do a drive down to Vegas, which was pretty cool, man. Yeah. Driving across that desert, that's awesome. Okay. I think we've done a good job here, Jason. I'm really happy with kind of comparing the two. I learned a lot about the ACPT. I don't know that I will attend the ACPT, although I really did like the look of those guys with the over-the-shoulder cameras looking at the final boards.
Yeah, well, so that's the thing. We do get media attention. That's what that year there was Real Sports with Brian Gumbel was there. Yeah, and he was interviewing some people, and actually there was a shot of there. They didn't use it, but there was a shot of me looking really frustrated at Puzzle 5. But I lost my train of thought. But I was just going to say, I encourage. It's interesting because I've had people ask me about Scrabble tournaments. I've encouraged some people to come to Scrabble tournaments. I think cross-pollination is great. Also, I should say that in some of the schmoozing, we're of course talking about the puzzles. So in one of the easier puzzles, there was a weird word, and I said I got that very easily once I had the first 4 letters, and this is why you play Scrabble.
Okay, right, yeah, absolutely. So there's some there have been benefits of the two coming together.
The occasional entries where it's like, Panates, Pnates. Of course I know that that's a word and I know what that means. And so I'm going to fill that in very easily. Everyone else, what was that word? This is why you play Scrabble.
Very good. Okay. Just another quote from Sean saying, Josh reminds people he's very cool and loves Vegas for no reason. Okay, so here's what we're going to do next, Jason. I'm going to keep you on here. We're going to go through our final 2 segments of the show. And the first thing that we're going to talk about is some upcoming tournaments. One of them is covered up, but we've got BAT. I don't know if you're attending any tournaments in the next couple of weeks. Work. Over the last couple of weeks, there have been tournaments, but not a lot of huge tournaments for sure. But some bigger ones are coming up. Back to the Future is trending over 50, I believe. Knoxville over 50, Houston over 50. So that's 3 pretty good size multi-days all happening this weekend coming up. Then we've got West Memphis, Arkansas. I've never been to Arkansas. I'd love to go to Arkansas one day. And we've got the last one is Scrabble for Literacy, which I think is in Danbury, Illinois, if I've got that correct. Danville. Yeah, that sounds about right. So anyway, those are some tournaments coming up. Always go to Cross Tables. see what tournaments are coming up. We always encourage people to play lots of tournaments because it's fun. Okay, let's do some very quick happy birthdays. I've got a list here. We've switched the way we do birthdays around here, Jason. I don't know if you know that. We're now going forward. We're going forward instead of looking back, right? So I got a lot of people saying, hey, my birthday already passed. I don't care that you wish me a happy birthday 5 days later. So now we're trying to wish them a happy birthday 5 days in the future. They still probably won't care, but here we go. We have two very special birthday babies. It's their birthday today. One person who I'm Facebook friends with but haven't met in person, Rana Afish. I don't know. You might know some of these people more than me. And we have Marty Fialco from the upstate New York region.
From New Jersey. Or he's
New Jersey.
Now.
There we go.
Yes, he is. Yes. He's celebrating a birthday today. Happy birthday.
That's right. Happy birthday, Marty. Okay, tomorrow we have Cesar's birthday. And this weekend, of course, Cesar gets married. I'm considering making the whole show next week about that wedding. I don't know whether I can do that, who I'll be able to get as a guest, but I'm considering that. Okay, we also have happy birthdays coming up for Muhammad Ali Ismail, for Chinex Jason, for Robert Richland, for Crane Spanier, Jeffrey Nelson, Brian Leavitt. You may be able to help me with this name, but it's Moise Ula Beg?
Moise Ula Beg, yes.
Moise? That's how you say it? Moise. Okay.
Yes.
Happy birthday, Moise. And Carol McDonald. So happy birthday to everybody out there. I want to thank people for watching the show. I want to thank Jason for coming on, for telling us about his experience at the ACPT. I want to encourage anybody watching to go out and support your local directors. They're working hard to make some fun times for you. We're going to be back next week with a new live show Tuesday night at 9 p.m. Eastern. And this was a lot of fun. Thanks, man.
Yeah. Oh, where's Scrabble Cat?
With Scrabble Cat, kind of. Hold on. Let's bring in Scrabble Cat. All right. Just for you, we'll bring in.
How do you not have a NASPA tonight? How do you have a NASPA tonight without Scrabble Cat?
We've sort of gone away. Listen, the format has changed since it became a one-man operation around here versus a two-man operation. All right. So just for you, there's Scrabble Cat, the unnamed cat of former North American champion Matthew Tunnicliffe, who I got to be roommates with this cat in Ottawa, Ontario for 2 or 3 nights, something like that. I love that cat, and you're right. We should show Scrabble Cat a little bit more.
Sean's going to comment that Scrabble Cat should be the host.
Very nice. Okay. Thanks, everybody. Thanks, Jason. We'll see you next time. And that is going to be it for NASPA Tonight. Goodbye, everybody.